Dial M for Murder's been re-released, spruced up, and that's a stage play. So we're getting our movies from comic books now. We used to get our movies from stage plays, didn't we? And even Alfred Hitchcock wasn't afraid of simply filming a play, but in a set with a fourth wall, but basically shooting a stage play. And I mean, we both saw it in a minuscule screening cinema and were subjected to sort of hyperactive 3D. The titles, and what was funny about the titles is everyone immediately sat back in their chair when the titles came on, because they were right out in front of you.
They're almost floating, aren't they?
Yeah.
And it's been cleaned up and restored, because the original 3D, there are alignment problems with it. This has been tweaked so the 3D is stronger, it's bolder, it's had a 4K scan, as they like to call it, to give it high definition.
Ross Munro. I love Hitchcock, and I really like Dial M for Murder. I know knew it was shot in 3D in the 50s, but only seen it on 2D DVD. Is it worth the price of admission to see this in 3D? And does the 3D work on the screen?
Well, the 3D, I found the 3D really intriguing, actually, because I thought, I'd only seen it in 2D as well, so this is my first 3D, and I thought because it came from that first era of 3D, the early 50s, that it would be a bit gimmicky, and you'd have things sort of coming out at you from the screen and being thrown at you, and it wouldn't necessarily be that sophisticated. But actually, the 3D, because it is mainly set in one room, what it achieves, I think, in Dial M for Murder is that it gives that room a bit more depth. It gives certain things in the room that are very key to the plot, like Grace Kelly's handbag, for example. It sort of foregrounds it very nicely. You almost feel you can reach out and pick it up. And so it's actually very subtle. It just puts things in a slightly different focus for you and just accentuates certain things in terms of the depth field, rather than being really sort of cheap and gimmicky about it.
What it didn't have was the good doctor talks about a lot with the 3D is the darkness of modern 3D. That often those it's a primary colours is the wrong word, but it's that 50s colour feel that
Grace Kelly's red dress. Amazing.
It's extraordinary. I mean, what I did love about it as well is it absolutely everybody talks like this, and even Grace Kelly's saying, but my darling, you must come with me. Whatever it is, she's called Margot, he's called Matt, or Mark, isn't it? Mark, but I love you so. Don't worry, sweetheart. Well, and it's so from another time. That I mean, it's almost like, I mean, it felt in a way like a fantasy film because the colours are different, the people talk differently. It's really arrived from another time. Yet with Hitchcock's very good at leading you on and giving you a little bit of what it's sexy, it's restrained. All those things, and I actually thought the 3D was subtle and
definitely subtle,
which you'd expect from him,
And what an amazing way to spend an afternoon, if in terms of fantasy, whenever you're going to go and see it. Yes, it is a bit like a fantasy because it is so far removed from cinema now. But what an amazing bit of escapism! I mean, it's and the Hitchcock thing of having really a very dark plot, very macabre plot, very misogynistic plot, but treating it with that lightness of touch and the sort of rubbing his hands together in glee as the mystery unfolds is just beautiful. And Ray Milland, who is the lead role in it, I think they wanted Cary Grant, but for whatever reason didn't get him. But I mean, Ray Milland is giving it the full Cary Grant.
It's an interchangeable performance with a Cary Grant performance.
But just so much fun to watch. And even though he's the bad guy for a lot of the film, you're rooting for him. And that's the Hitchcock thing, isn't it? The absolute treating darkness with glee and with joy. And that is just, I think, eternally endearing.
And no one's innocent in the film. There's questions of lines of responsibility and innocence, and it shifts, and your sympathy shifts in a way. Like the way the perspectives in the 3D shift. I mean, because there's a brilliant bit where Ray Milland looks over the inspector's shoulder at one point, and in the 3D. He sort of slides across the scene, and we get the feeling of the depth, but how close he is as well. It's well worth seeing, I'd say.
Absolutely, and I think certainly I'd never seen it on the big screen. These opportunities don't happen very often, so you really need to grab it. And if ever there was a master of the big screen, then it was Alfred Hitchcock.
And 3D skeptics. And maybe even some modern 3D filmmakers maybe see possibly how it can be done.
It can be integrated into the plot. It can make points about what's going on in the story. It doesn't just have to be there to make a few extra bucks.